Everybody, Shinobi Muhammad here, editor-in-chief of Mkovah Magazine. I just recently saw a news clipping of a 65-year-old lady getting manhandled out of her car at night by 4 or 5 police officers, male police officers. She's screaming, blah, blah, blah. She's doing all of that. She's scared. And if anybody has a grandmother, you know, if she was being pulled out of the car, she would be feisty too, and she'll be confused and everything else. But all they wanted to do is to sign a little notice or something, you know, related to like maybe a ticket or something like that. She had to sign it. For whatever the reason was, she didn't do it. However, that did not justify them grabbing a 65-year-old lady, manhandling her, when they could have found better means to resolve or deal with that situation. One, there was not a female officer on the scene to at least give that 65-year-old woman some means to not be as defensive or in adhering to whatever they were asking. It brought me to the mindset that, you know, at the end of the day, I felt bad for her, but there's nothing I can do. Hearing her screams and her cries for help, and or just hearing her scream and knowing that you know, trying to put yourself in her perspective, and then also trying to put yourself in the perspective of the officers and trying to reason that, you know, maybe that's what they needed to do. That's how it goes. But then I thought about it. There's no justification, right? A lot of things like that happen across the country. You know, whether it be situations on immigration, undocumented workers, and those who are fighting to stay in the country, who are going through issues that we ourselves personally may not have to go through. We have to put ourselves in the perspective of other people. Always. Always. We do that when we want something. We do that when it serves our best interest. But we don't do that when there's no concern of ours. A lot of us will turn the TV off or turn the radio off when it's concerning other people. And that may be something very dire to those people, that something that's impacting them, but we totally ignore it because it doesn't matter to us. We concern ourselves about our jobs, the next music video, and all these other things. But there are many of us, many people out there who want to be able to, without the dramatic aspect of emotion, explain their case or explain what their viewpoint is, their perspective. Be able to showcase and show what they're doing in their community. Whether it's dealing with Black Lives Matter, whether it's dealing with, you want to call it Blue Lives Matter, any of that stuff, all of that does need to be in the forefront so people can get to understand it from different perspectives. Because the truth be told, for the most part, everybody's right. It's just that everybody's in their own corner. And often people don't come out and say, you know what, that part's right, that part's messed up, I got you on this, we can move forward. But instead, people push themselves to their own corner and are defiant in their own corner, which escalates things. I always wanted to see, almost like how you have CNN, something that will allow people to be able to hear the perspective of people from all walks of life, regardless of the race, situation, organization, didn't matter. Allowing them to hear their perspective, but then being able to engage that perspective, being able to understand that perspective, and then taking it to the next level. We already know some people do things just because they want to. There's no perspective on that, right? There's no perspective on that. The reality of it is some people do things just because they feel like they have the right to do it, you know, and that doesn't change. So for the most part, having something like a network that allows us to convey in a non-emotional, non-biased manner information that's happening every day. The news, we know, is not going to cover it. They only sensationalize news for the most part, or they'll put it out there a little bit and then step back and focus on something else. We have to be responsible for conveying proper information and news, constructing that news, delivering that news, and making sure that the words that we say and the manner in which we put it out does not heighten the situation. We're responsible for what we say when we know better. Watching what we say, how we say it, and drawing people to open up their minds. I'm not so concerned about people opening up their hearts, because that's the problem too. People open up their hearts so much, then it becomes emotional again. You need to open up your mind so that you understand and that you force yourself to come to some conclusions that make sense, that correlate with common sense versus being uncommon sense, and being able to know if what's right for you, may not be right for the other person. Treating another person a certain way is just like someone treating someone else you love a certain way, or someone you care about, or someone you feel connected with. The real fact of the matter is our society is the way that it is for a lot of different reasons. We're in it now, but we do need another platform, and the internet gives us the platform to do it. It doesn't matter if the news doesn't cover it. The internet is faster than the news. It doesn't matter if a politician doesn't speak a certain way. The platform is already there. We can engage individuals in communities across the country in order to actually impact. So one of the things Mkovah Magazine eventually will end up doing is having that news network of individuals who are on the streets all over the country, outside the country, who can give a different perspective from people who are around, so that we can filter that perspective and see how we reconvey that to people so that they better understand the differences and the conflicts. You have to remember that just because someone else's story does not impose any relevancy to you, it actually does. Sometime or somewhere down the road, it will. So we have to be more cognizant that other lives and other people, they matter just as well. Our lives matter. All people's lives matter. But when we totally disengage to the point where we feel like only our lives matters the most, to the point where we would rather bring up a conflict versus bringing a solution, not hear, close our ears just to get our point across, that's not good. Just because you want to get your point across. So a news network that is not emotional, it's not biased, that's straightforward, that only wants the real talk. That's what we need. Not bought, not paid, that really wants to make sure people have a conscious chance of understanding information that's coming to them. A decipher. Most news is so filtered and so swayed and controlled by big corporate interests that often it is very confusing and is dumbed down to a point where we're all confused, even though we think we're saying the right thing. We're just all over the place. And it's disorganized. And that information needs to be centralized. And the internet gives us a good platform to do that. And there's a lot of bloggers out there, vloggers out there. There are a lot of people out there who have columns that are really doing a great job at doing their part. I think that Mkovah Magazine needs to start doing its part in that area just as well. We already have the vision of our live stream. We're setting up the magazines in the different cities. We're expanding accordingly to have physical people on the ground. We are building the infrastructure and laying the foundation, even though on the fashion and the modeling aspect of it, we have a physical magazine dynamics that we're creating that will allow us to do things or have a platform to do things that otherwise we couldn't. So this is another thing that we're going to end up coming out with, something that allows us an opportunity to voice our perspective, connect people, hear their stories, give them a chance to speak. Doesn't matter if you agree with what they say or not. That's not the point. It's best to let them speak, understand them, give them the platform so it doesn't escalate to any other level that it shouldn't be. It's best to call to question when people do things they shouldn't do. It's best to have something there in place that people fear when they do something, never knowing when a phone like this one I'm on now could be aiming at them, or could be recording, or could be doing anything that allows us to put things in proper perspective. But again, that's my viewpoint on that, and that's something that I think that I'm going to be putting to pen to work on. So if there are writers out there, if there are people out there who are good writers, good communicators, if there are people out there who are interested in being a part of a platform that will allow real news, real perspectives to be seen and heard, even from the smallest community to the biggest community, then get in contact with me. My information will be in this posting, or you can go to info@Mkovah Magazine, or mkovahmagazine.com, and still, go to one of the magazines, and emails in there and so forth. But I'll leave that information. Other than that, people, thank you very much and enjoy your day. Bye.